I am glad to be here with you today to talk about designing for a remote world. And it's really an important topic right now. I think it's very relevant and very time sensitive. So, designing for a remote world, when I think about this, what I think about is that this is about connecting courage, clarity, and progress in your office design and in your life. At some point during the next year, everyone will be remote working. And during this presentation, we will explore how the principles of high performance can empower you and your clients to take big, bold action to support the new way that people will be working. Slide transition. There we go. Hey, it's nice to meet you again, Technology Problems. I'm Sid Meadows, and I'm a business strategist and coach, and my focus is on high performance and growth. I work with business owners and leaders and salespeople in the contract interiors industry every day. I've been in this industry for my entire career, and I've worked in a variety of roles from an individual contributor at a dealership to a senior vice president of sales for a fast paced, up and coming manufacturer. There is no doubt I am passionate about our industry, what we do, and most importantly, the success of your business and our people. Today, not only do I professionally advise and coach people from across the industry, I'm also a columnist for the Business of Furniture magazine, where I write about topics relevant to professional development and growth. I am also the host of the Trend Report podcast, which is focused on having real conversations with real people about real issues and topics that are facing our industry today. And I think that you would agree with me that our industry is facing some significant challenges and definitely some shifts. So, just a couple of minutes ago, I mentioned high performance and how we could use the principles of high performance in designing a remote world. And I'm sure you might be thinking, well, what is high performance? So, I wanted to share my thoughts with you about what is high performance. So, high performance is the result of heightened and sustained levels of clarity, energy, necessity, courage, productivity, and influence. And as a certified high performance coach, I actually work with people and businesses every day in embracing the principles of high performance in order to move forward in their life and their career. And to kind of tie this to the topic today, I wanted to give you an example of a couple of or a few leaders that have been around that have embraced the principles of high performance, whether they knew it or not, and that are doing things that are big or have done things that are big and that are bold. So let's start with this guy. Though I can't see all of you, and this is not very much interaction here, but I would imagine that most of you don't know who this gentleman is. However, he is one of my most favorite characters, if you will, from history. This is Ernest Shackleton. If you've never heard about Ernest Shackleton, he's an explorer, a British explorer from the late 1800s and early 1900s. And what's interesting about Shackleton, I had the opportunity to meet him in January of 2019 at the BIFMA 360 conference when I heard a Harvard historian talk about Shackleton, and I became fascinated with his story and what he did. What's really interesting about Shackleton is that his goal was to first be the first person to go to Antarctica or the South Pole. When he did not accomplish that, then he set out on a path to actually be the first person to cross Antarctica. Every event that he went on, every time that he went to explore, he did not meet with the success that he wanted or what that he needed. In fact, history will tell you that he failed miserably. But in the 20th century, he was rediscovered. And what's important about Shackleton is his leadership. He faced insurmountable challenges each and every time that he went, sailing from England all the way to Antarctica multiple times in treacherous conditions. But every time that he went, he was faced with challenges and changes and all these events that were happening around him. But when he put a call out to his crew to say, who wants to go with me? Each and every time, any crew member that was remaining signed up to go with him again. And that's one of the reasons that he's considered a role model for today's leaders because of his skills of being able to lead through a crisis and keep his team together. Now, I'm sure that you all know who this guy is. He's certainly a public figure in our world today. Whether you agree or disagree with his politics, he certainly is making a big impact in our world. This is Elon Musk, if you haven't figured that out. In 1999, he started X.com that merged with Confinity in 2000 to form what we know today to be PayPal. I'm sure that we all have used PayPal at some point during the last several weeks. In 2002, he formed SpaceX, the first private company to do space exploration. He joined Tesla in 2004 and became their CEO in 2007. And I think we all know the impact that Tesla is not only having in the automobile industry, but in the electric industry as well. And the list of Musk accomplishments go on and on and on. Now, some of you might also know this lady that is here on the screen as well. This is Andy Owen. She is the CEO of Herman Miller. And Andy's impact on Herman Miller and on our industry has been in her short time at Herman Miller profound. And basically the things that she has led Herman Miller to do and to change will have impacts in our industry for decades to come. You know, she was one of the first to actually leave the merchandise mart and open up a showroom in the Fulton Market in Chicago. She was the first leader in our industry to push forward a direct to consumer strategy. She was the first to develop a residential strategy and open retail stores. The impact that she's had at Herman Miller is amazing, and it is so fun to watch. And then, most recently, as we're all aware, she led Herman Miller to the acquisition of Knoll. But the one thing that all of these three people have in common, whether you agree with them, like them, or dislike them, it really doesn't matter. What they have in common is their ability to embrace change. They all have the courage to do something bold, the clarity to know exactly what they want to do, and the ability to make forward progress. But I'm sure you're probably going, well, what does this have to do with the modern workplace? Well, let me see if I can't help you understand that. What we know is that it's changing, and we, all of us, need to understand that the workplace is going to be different. This group of leaders understands the power of embracing change. So, when you think about the change that's happening in the workplace, what do you think the workplace is going to look like? This is a topic that's being debated by multiple experts around our industry. But the thing that they're coming to is understanding the statistics, right? In April 2020, 70% of us were working from home. But April 2021, only 50% of us were actually working from home. Now, here's an interesting stat for you. Of the 50% that are still working from home today, the majority of them report having asked their employer to allow for a hybrid work model. Now, this hybrid work model is somewhere in between the home or the remote office and the physical headquarters of the organization. Now, one of the most shocking statistics that we came across recently was that more than 40% of Americans are actually considering leaving their current workplace. Well, I'm sure you're wondering, why is that? Well, based on this research, what we discovered was that their biggest concerns include organizational culture, the lack of flexibility in their schedules at work, and their schedule of how and when they work, and poor employment practices. Now, we aren't really told exactly what this means in the research, but we could come to the conclusion that poor employment practices may include the lack of structure surrounding the new remote or semi remote work policies or the workplace, or just the issues that are facing when people begin to return to the office. Now, another statistic that we found quite shocking is that 70 to 80% of doctor visits, people actually mentioned mental health and stress as a major concern for them. Now, we all know that stress is not good for us in a variety of ways, and it impacts high performers the most. And these are the very people that businesses want to hang on to. It also has a negative impact on our physical and mental well being, and it decreases our stamina. And none of us want to live or work in a stressful environment. But the future of the workplace, what is it? What is it going to be? What does it look like? And I hinted to it just a second ago. And I'm not a design expert. I'm not a researcher, but I do follow those. And the general consensus is that the future workplace is a hybrid workplace. Now, in a recent study from May of this year, something indicated that 55% of employers actually plan to move to this hybrid model. Now, it's a tricky balance here for organizations, and the decisions that they're making have high stakes. Part of the reason behind that is that 40% of employees actually prefer to work from home, while 35% of employees actually really want the hybrid model, and only 25% of us actually want to go back to the office. The goal for companies is to give employees choice and control while also ensuring that their teams can maintain engagement for the members and collaboration and all the things that we used to get when we worked in teams. Now, some of the risk here include losing employees if we don't offer enough flexibility in the space, but also with their work schedule. Another risk for companies includes loss of productivity or performance if the office doesn't draw people willingly to come back and want to spend part of their time there. With the hybrid workplace as the workplace of the future, we as an industry are being challenged to create designs that provide flexibility, adaptability, and choice for every industry. People want a flexible schedule. They also want a flexible workplace. The pandemic has certainly emphasized for all of us how off our work life balance was. In fact, I would argue that we don't really have work life balance, and there's actually no such thing as work life balance. The reason I say that is because the term balance indicates that all things are equal. Well, when you think about your work and your life, how equal has it actually been? How balanced has it actually been? I would state that we're facing and what we've become accustomed to and what we've been able to accomplish is actually work life integration. The pandemic taught us how to integrate our work and our life. It taught us how to get our job done and homeschool our children or take care of our family. It taught us how to be flexible, adaptable, and it gave us the choice to work when we wanted to or when we could based on what was going on around us. But as you talk to people and as we research employees and what they're looking for, there are some things that we've come up with and that we hear consistently from those people that do work for other companies. They no longer want long commutes to the office. During this time, we got our time back. You got your time back, and you didn't have to travel an hour and a half in San Francisco to go 10 miles to get to your office. People no longer want to work long hours in a physical office building, and they no longer want to miss life events because of work. You know, the philosophy or the mantra has become if I can get it home at done alongside and integrated with my personal life, why wouldn't I want to? And recently, at Hayworth's Work from Anywhere conference, Allison English, the deputy CEO of Leesman, I think said it really well. What Allison said was that companies need to go big or their employees are going to stay home. And this to me is such a powerful statement because for all of you that are here today hanging out with me for a few minutes, this is our time. Our customers not only want to buy, but they need to buy. They need to buy furniture that excites their people, that makes spaces more flexible, that allows for the unassigned desk model. They need the office to be a destination that their employees want to come to. And guess what? We get to help them with that. They want to give their people a reason to come to the office as an exciting space, right? Where desks aren't assigned and flexibility is the norm and natural. Our customers just need our help to make the remote work appealing, inviting, and an anchor to keep their best employees highly motivated and happy. So there's our question for the day and our quest for the day. How do we design for a remote world? For me, I believe designing for a remote world that we need courage and clarity to capitalize on our inevitable progress. So, what does this actually all mean? Let's start pulling it all this together. Let's look at courage for just a minute. And courage for you and courage for your customers. And to help you understand this courage, I wanted to share a little bit of my story about courage. I've worked in this industry my entire career, as I mentioned a few minutes ago. And after 25 years of towing the line and working for someone else, I decided it was time for me to do something different. To be honest with you, I was physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. I'd spent 10 years on an airplane and in hotels, traveling 4 to 5 weeks a month, 4 to 5 days of each week. And I was literally exhausted. And I knew I needed to do something, and I didn't really know what that was. I finally, after talking to my wife, summons the courage to leave it all. I quit on a Friday and was gone on a Monday. I had no idea what I was going to do. I literally jumped off a cliff without a safety net. And I gave myself the gift and the grace to take a few weeks to sit back and figure it out. But I had the courage to not only do that, but also the courage to do something new. And with that, I started my own business, which is Embark CCT. And we provide coaching, consulting, and training to those people that work inside our industry. So I'd like for you to think about this, and thank you for letting me share my story there for a moment. But I'd like for you to think about it for just a second. If you had 20 seconds of courage, what could you do? What would you do if you could summon 20 seconds of courage to do something bold or brave or unique or new or different? Think about the possibilities. Would you go skydiving? Would you find a new job? Would you ask for a promotion? Would you start your own business like I did? Would you pitch an idea to an investment firm? Would you pick up the phone and call that customer that you just wanted to connect with for a long time but haven't? Would you reach out to the CEO of a company that's building a new building down the street for you? What could you do if you had 20 seconds of courage? To be honest with you, the sky is the limit. Whatever it is you want to do, if you can summon that courage, anything is possible. And the same actually applies to our customers. Think about this for a second. What if your customers could commit to having the courage to jump into big, bold moves in their workplace? What's the impact that it could have on their organization? Do they really need or want the same old space like this that we've been designing for decades? Or do they need something different or want something different? Do they have the courage to create something that looks like this? If your customers had the courage to reevaluate and change the way their employees work, could they create a space full of collaboration, unassigned desks, lockers, and more that allow employees to feel safe and to be themselves at work and to maximize their productivity? Or could they create a space like this really cool and dynamic space? This this space invites collaboration, employee engagement, and so much more. Or would they step out and do something that looks like this and as unique as this space is? You know, when we think about courage, it takes courage to do something new, something big, and something bold. So, how do we help our customers find the courage to make these important changes? I told you a little bit about my story. I gave you a challenge to what could you do with it. So now how do we help our customers? Well, it starts with asking questions, right? Then from there, we share research with them on why they need to change or what's happening in our industry. Remember, we're the experts in the industry. So we need to share information and provide details about the changes that we're seeing. We need to help them understand the impact that could happen in their organization, the positive impacts, especially that could happen in their organization and more if they could change and have the courage to do something big and bold. Think about it. If you get the opportunity to help your customers summon the courage they need to make a big impact in their business, what would you ask them? Show them, share with them? What would it be? I'm sure right now you're probably thinking of something. And honestly, This is a great team exercise to come together with your teammates and your colleagues and the key stakeholders in your business and actually determine a list of questions of things that you could ask and documents and resources that you could share with your clients that would help them have courage to be bold, to make big changes. But before they can do that, before they can actually have that courage to make those changes, they need clarity. And clarity is so important in the world today, not only for you, but also for our customers. And clarity is not like a one-stop shop thing. And I'm going to share a little bit of this, my story as it relates around clarity. Honestly, it's taken me years to get super clear about the vision for my business and what I wanted my company to be. But I have to be flexible and adaptable enough to understand that this vision and the clarity that I have needs to change and adjust as the world around me changes and adjusts because it's happening right now. I've had to make small micro pivots in my business, just like a lot of businesses have, in order to accommodate the things that are happening in the world today. But the one thing that has not changed as it relates to clarity for me and my business is one of the cornerstones of my business, and that's coaching. You see, once knew that I was going to start my business, I knew that coaching was going to be one of the cornerstones of what I wanted the business to be built on. But I knew that before I would hang a sign up that said, "Hey, I'm a coach," I wanted to go out and get the credentials to support it. I wanted to be educated. I wanted to have knowledge and information, and I wanted to be empowered to be the best coach that I could possibly be. So what did I do? I went out and did research, a lot of it. I evaluated programs. I talked to other coaches. I evaluated time frames and costs. All the things that you needed to do to get clarity, or that I needed to do to get clarity around which coaching certification program was the best for me. And with that, I decided that IPEC was the first place that I was going to start. IPEC is the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. And through that year-long program, that was a lot of work. I got 2 certifications, which include a certified professional coach and an energy leadership master practitioner. These were really important to me, and IPEC taught me how to be a coach. And upon completing that program, I launched directly in to become a certified high performance coach. Again, clarity played a role here because I knew that I needed a modality to deliver to my clients. My clients were asking me for certain things, and I knew that high performance coaching could provide that. So then I became a high performance coach. The bottom line is, once I had the clarity, I invested in myself, both with time and with money, in order to do something that was important not only to me, but to my business. And without the vision and the clarity around that, I would not have taken those steps. So I want you to think about yourself for just a moment. What do you need clarity on? How can clarity help you in your personal life or in your business? Let me give you a couple examples of where clarity might play a role for you. Do you need an advanced degree to further your career? What a great question. And almost anybody could ask that question of themselves. And there's some, if you will, research, process, clarity seeking that you need to do in order to answer that question. The same applies to this question. How will certifications like NCIDQ and WELL AP benefit me, my company, and my customers? If you answer that question, then do the research to determine which one, if not both of those, are important to you. Then how are you going to do it? What's it going to cost? What's the time commitment? How it's going to impact you? There's so much here that you need to get clear on that'll help you create a path to move forward. If you seek out clarity on your direction, I promise you, you will be amazed at how far you can go and how fast you can get there. But what about our clients? Don't you think our clients need to seek the same level of clarity that you and I just talked about, that I did for my business, and that I encouraged you to do for steps in your career or your life? So, do our customers have the clarity to understand that their workplace is going to look like this? It's potentially going to be a hybrid of people working in office and then people zooming in, if you will, from other locations, or go to meeting in from other locations, right? Do the customers have the clarity to understand that that's what they want, or is it what they need? Or do they want something like this, more of a traditional corporate office? What is it that our customers are really looking for? And gaining clarity around this is so very important for them to understand what it is they want. So, how do we help our customers get clarity? Well, like I said just a minute ago, we ask them great questions. That's where we start by asking them questions about what their new post pandemic workplace is going to look like. How are they bringing their people back to work? What is it they're doing? What percentage of them are coming back to work? When are they coming back to work? How many people are actually coming back to the office? And the terminology is back to the office, not back to work. So, when are they coming back to the office? Because we didn't stop working, right? So, the terminology here is back to the office or to the workspace. So, how are they coming? When are they coming? How many of them are coming? How long will they be in the office each week? What's your policies or your strategy around remote work? Where are they working? How are you going to support both in office and remote employees? What tools and resources do they need? All of this is information that the client needs to understand. But if you walk alongside them and gain that clarity with them, it actually helps us design spaces for them that are going to give them exactly what they need. And again, this is another great exercise to do as a team to gather all your team or team stakeholders into a room, have a brainstorming session, and come up with clarity questions that you can ask your client, not only to help them, but also to help you to ensure that we and you design the right space for them, the perfect space for them and for their employees. But once you have clarity and then the courage to make big, bold moves, what's next is, whoops. Oh, yeah, what's next is capitalizing. Sorry, I got mixed up there. Is capitalizing on progress, not only for you, but for your customers. So I'm going to share another story for me about capitalizing on progress and how this actually is probably the best example for me on understanding using clarity, having courage, and then seeing the progress forward. And I hope that you can draw a parallel here for your clients and in your business and in your life as well. For me, it revolves around my podcast, The Trend Report. You know, it had been on my list of things to do for well over a year. And then when April 2020 got here and I realized that we were going to be stuck at home a lot longer than what anybody anticipated, I actually wrote a column for the Business of Furniture called April 2020. When you look back, what will you see? And it was that moment in time that I knew that this thing that had been on my list to do needed to become a strategic component of my business. And so I got really, really clear about what I wanted to do, how to do it. I got really clear about the topics that I wanted to discuss, some of the people that I wanted to interview. And then I got the courage to reach out to them and to say, hey, I'm starting a podcast. I would love for you to be a guest. Right. I had the courage to ask questions and to show up on a regular basis to ensure that we post an episode each week. I had the clarity to understand what it means to have a sponsor for my podcast and the courage to not only have a sponsor, but to now also run in, excuse me, to now also have in roll, which is inside the podcast, advertisements. All of this is forward progress from beginning April the 1st, where we began till today. We have now published this week, yesterday, we issued episode 59. And we have some amazing episodes coming up. And all of this clarity and courage played a role in the forward progress of my podcast. And if you are interested in podcasts, you can find my podcast anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So now I'd like to ask you the question. You probably knew this was coming, right? What does forward progress look like for you? How can you move forward in your life and your career? What does the evidence of progress look like for your team or for your organization? I want you to think about for just a second. If you were 4 years in the future, what would you be excited to see for yourself or for your business? Visualization is so important to create the ideal progress of where we want to go. What would it look like? and then determining what's the first step to make it happen. The one thing I would encourage you is don't rule anything out. Sometimes don't rule anything out because it feels overwhelming and daunting. Because sometimes those crazy ideas are the ideas that really give you the success that you want or propel you to the place that you want to be. Because, friends, you can accomplish big, amazing things. But what about our customers? What can our customers accomplish? Well, the good news is they can also accomplish big, amazing things. But the other good news is there is progress happening in our industry right now. It's happening, it's possible. It's so exciting to see where we're going and where we're headed right now. Now, a recent study actually, or survey actually told us that more than 50% of organizations and individuals are planning to splurge on workplace items in the near future. Designing for remote work is new and a unique challenge. And every organization must find personalized solutions for their people and for their company culture. And we get to help them. We get to help them understand how to design for this world of remote work. Because at some point, as I said earlier, everyone's going to be working remotely. But understanding forward progress means that we have to also understand what our customers' goals are, what your goals are for that matter. And we have to do that by defining our goals and objectives and to a place that they can actually be measured. Now, we need to ensure that we have the clarity and the courage that we are moving forward and that our customers can create a space for them and their employees that they want and that they need. So, how do we help our customers find forward progress? Because forward progress is all about understanding what success looks like for you and for our clients. To keep moving forward, we need to know what we're moving towards. So, identifying the goals, the objectives, and the measurements is critical to the success here. And the one thing I want you to do is remember that this is a journey, and each day we need to move forward, but we need something to measure that forward progress against. So, be sure you work with your clients to determine what success looks like for them. What are the measurements, what the measurements are, what's important to them, and then let's start going. Now, again, this starts with asking questions. So some of the questions that you might want to ask your customers include, what does success look like? You could also ask yourself that question. How do you know when we will accomplish your goals? What are you doing to set your space up for success? What about your people? Those that work both in person and remotely, how are you supporting them and how are you setting them up for success? And a great question to ask your clients is, what measurements are important for you to know and to see? So as I start to close this somewhat rushed presentation out because I was having technical issues, I wanted to actually leave you with some thoughts from a industry leader and expert that I happen to call a close friend. This is Kay Sargent, the director of workplace for HOK, and I think Kay said it really, really well. In this new hybrid work ecosystem, overall office space per agency could be reduced while providing more enticing environments and better experiences for their people. This model of hybrid work will help address environmental and human sustainability as well as well-being, which will improve productivity. For us, this is about what we do and how we act and how we help our customers. And how do we do this? We do this by gathering the courage and the clarity that we need to capitalize on our inevitable progress. Hey, I really appreciate you guys giving me a few minutes to be here with you today. I would welcome the opportunity to connect with each and every one of you. My social channels are here, as well as my email address and my website. I'd welcome the opportunity to get to know you. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Instagram. And if I can do anything for you directly, please feel free to send me an email. I'd like to also thank my friends at 2020 for their help in having me back for a second time at this event. Thank you.
Thanks so much.